Hey, what's up, good people? I'm going to stop saying the episode because I don't know what episode we're at right now. Let's just say episode more than 2. Episode 6, episode 6 with Father's Day podcast. I got a special guest. I was in Seattle last week, got to perform in Seattle Underground when I was there. Had dinner with a friend of mine from, I guess, middle school. She was my sister's good best friend in middle school, and her husband, his name's James Lewis. And James has a very interesting and inspirational story that I thought would be cool to share with my podcast listeners. So James and I are from the same hometown, Greensboro, North Carolina. Whoop, whoop. And we're just going to have a conversation. I'm going to let him detail his story, where he started, where he is, and then we'll get into some jokes in between there. So without further ado, please welcome James Lewis. Yay! James, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good, brother. I know it's a little bit after 8 o'clock, and I know you got a daughter. So is she asleep, by the way? I don't hear anything in the background.
No. Oh, man. We are night owls, I guess, over here, man. She's finishing up dinner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, she's well behaved, because if my daughter was here, you wouldn't hear anything but her screaming on the mic.
Well, maybe that's to come. We'll see how it goes.
All right. Well, it would be cool. I mean, it's the Father's Day podcast, so it's okay if we have to be a father a little bit during the podcast. Hey, man, so I appreciate you. First of all, appreciate y'all inviting me over for dinner last week. Let's jump right into it. I think the cooler thing would say where you are now. What are you doing now? And then we'll go in reverse. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right.
So now I am. I actually just transitioned. So it's kind of been a crazy couple of weeks for me. But I am currently at part of Team Xbox. I'm over here at Microsoft. I just transitioned. I was in third-party publishing, working with a lot of our ID and Xbox developers as an account manager, and just try to help a lot of studios get their game out there, have some success. I recently actually transitioned over to our Mixer interactivity team. So I'm a producer on that team, and I'm helping just kind of reaching out, talking to devs about interactivity, about the streaming service that Microsoft recently, acquired, and it's doing a lot of really cool stuff. So it's kind of a cool space for me to be in. It's kind of mapping, kind of tying kind of a lot of past and current passions together. So yeah, it's been pretty fun.
That's dope, man. So let me back up. So you work for Microsoft Xbox, but now you're transitioning to, what's it called, Mixer?
Yeah, so I'll still be at Microsoft, still part of Team Xbox, doing a different role. So instead of doing third-party publishing, I'm now going to be a producer on the Mixer team. The service is called Mixer, and we're doing specifically like Mixer interactivity. So imagine it's a streaming service. So imagine you got people that are streaming video games all over the place.
Yeah.
So the service, the part of it that I'm working on is like, hey, what if you're watching somebody play a video game?
Right.
But what if you could go beyond just watching them, and what if you could actually interact with them? So you're on your phone or wherever, and you're actually interacting, maybe helping or just doing something that's impacting the gameplay. So it takes the viewer from a passive state and actually gives them something to do and to actually interact with the streamer. So
that's
it's
dope,
cool
man. So you said something last week when I was there that I had no idea. You said right now, what's bigger than gaming is watching people game. Is that true?
Yeah, so
dude, that's how lazy we are as a country. We don't even want to play games no more.
Dude, so it's funny because you see a lot of people are spending a lot of time watching people play video games, which I thought was fascinating. And then I was like, we recently had to take a cross country flight, so we got my daughter a little tablet.
Okay.
So now she's on this tablet. One of the things she was watching was there's this guy who's like goes to all these play places and like just films himself like exploring like these indoor playhouses.
Wow.
So my daughter is looking at her tablet, watching somebody play at a place.
Watching somebody else play, pretty much.
Watching somebody else play.
Man.
So this is a trend of just going here. So I don't know.
And I guess it's cool. Look, I'm not hating. It's amazing where technology will take us. It just blows my mind that now people used to say, like these sit around just play video games. Now it's worse than that. It's like now you just sit around watching other people play video games.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
you're not
but
even playing the games itself.
right, and where does Xbox, where does Microsoft see the technology going? Right, where is that going to go? And then let me just be selfish for a minute. How is that going to impact live entertainment? Do you think that it'll ever be
Yeah.
a point where I'm sitting here behind a green screen or in front of a green screen just doing comedy and people are streaming it, watching it while I'm doing it there? What do you think? Where does Microsoft see it?
So I'll answer it two ways. Well, one
Okay.
way. Well, first is so I'll get in trouble big time.
So you can only
so
say
in
so
trouble.
much.
I can't say so much. But beyond like, kind of where, the ultimate kind of goal and the vision is for Microsoft, I'm sure, there are a lot of people who get paid a lot more than me that figure a lot of that stuff out. Like me personally, like when I said like this kind of combines some former and current passions, like I have a theater background. Like my
Okay.
background is in theater. I did theater tech and, did some acting and playwriting was really a passion of mine. So I've always felt like there's a way of bridging, now that I'm in the games industry and been doing this for a while,
Right.
I've always felt like there's a way of bridging kind of, these two worlds together. So
Yeah.
this live, this performance, this art form mixed with, this awesome technology that we have. So that's something I've been honestly thinking about over the last few years, just around like, hey, what if you're going to a theater? What if you're going to a show, you're actually in the theater and you have maybe it's your phone or maybe they have something in the house that there's some way for you to interact with what's happening on stage. So it takes you just from being a viewer to actually interacting. And so, with this, with Mixer, the streaming service, you're not actually going to a theater, but if you look a few steps beyond that, I think that's some of the stuff that I get excited about, because it'd be amazing if, your favorite theater house, maybe everybody can't make it out to Broadway in New York or whatever, but what if they, what if they had, they streamed a show,
Right.
and so then they sold tickets beyond what they could actually, the capacity of a certain house.
Right.
And now they have this audience that ranges across the country, across the world. Even.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of potential and opportunities there. Obviously, a lot of things still have to be figured out to kind of make that work. But like you said, they're streaming, doing your comedy. I think your reach, because of, this type of technology, like your reach has just gotten even bigger. Like there's so many ways to kind of build communities and find that following. You no longer bound to, just your physical location and like that. So I think it's really cool.
I think, and you and I talked about it a little bit last week, I think you're right. And from the business perspective, right, all of us as entrepreneurs / artists want our reach to be infinite. We want to be able to go and people in India see us and people in Bangladesh see us and people all over the world. At the same time, though, especially with stand-up comedy, there is something about being and stage theater, right? Acting on stage. There's something about being there, being in the present that I hope somehow we find ways to coexist, right? I will never be that person that says bah humbug to technology, because I think we need technology, and I'm hoping that this podcast, goes viral and 20 million people listen to it. But at the same time, there's still a place in my heart for doing a small theater of 1,500 people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I still like both of those. So, hey, well, look, man, I want to take a step back. I love what we're talking about, but I want to, if I can, I wanted to explain to people where you were, or let you do that. And then I wanted to talk about your journey. So if you don't mind, pick up really from wherever you want. You can pick up from high school. You can pick up from wherever you want. But how did you get to Microsoft Xbox? Because I think that's something that a lot of people, it literally is a dream. Like, you can't work for Xbox, but, you're doing it. And so if you don't mind, can you talk about that journey?
Yeah, man, absolutely. So I guess just from high school, I'll just kind of pick it up there, man. It's, because I tell them, sometimes I tell people, in high school, my goals, like I had goals when I was in high school. My goals were to not go to jail, not get anyone pregnant. My goals were to not go to jail, not get anyone pregnant, and graduate. Like that's what I wanted to do when I was in high school. Like that was being successful, for where I was. And maybe some of the friends I had, I don't know, but that was you're doing all right when you can do that.
Right.
So that was kind of my focus, man. And then you do that, and then you're like, well, what's next?
Right.
Like I hadn't thought beyond those steps. So it was like, okay, well, what do I do now? And so then I was like, well, I guess I'll go to college. And so I was late getting in. college applications and stuff like that. It was kind of a scramble and a hustle. And
Okay.
what do I study in college? And, so it was just, I didn't, since I had kind of set a bar that was, kind of low.
Okay.
At the time, I thought it was a high bar.
Right.
Trusted it.
Right.
I guess I said the bar was kind of low, so I just kind of felt I was just kind of in this mode where I was figuring things out as I go. And so I went to college and, I started with one degree. I ended up switching over, to a different degree. And then that's where I got into, theater and, and I started, kind of fell in love with theater and I just really, really enjoyed it.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to North Carolina A&T State University in Greensboro, North Carolina.
There we go. Aggie Pride. There we go.
Right, Aggie Pride.
Yeah.
So it's, so for me, that was just a tremendous experience kind of going through. It took me a while to, while I was in college, I was working, I worked about 3 or 4 jobs. So I was working I was a barista at a coffee shop.
Okay.
And then I was serving tables at a pizza joint. I was, giving up pizzas and all that kind of stuff. And then honestly, man, like we had some family issues and stuff. And so I had to take a break from college.
Okay.
And so I actually went and I took a break and I got a job at UPS. And they had like a little hub there. And so I started working at UPS. And just everything I do, I just work hard at it. So I ended up working my way up to supervisor at UPS.
Okay.
Now I'm just like, well, maybe this is my life. Maybe I'm just UPS. I mean, I wasn't happy, but I was like,
right.
This is what I do now.
You just gonna wear brown and throw boxes for the rest of your life.
Exactly. This is what I do now.
Okay.
So I worked at it, man. I did my best, and thankfully I had some favor there, and I ended up getting some promotions and stuff like that. And then honestly, I met, Tyler met this girl who would later, become my wife, and she kind of understanding kind of where I am, with some with work and everything, and I'm just telling her, I was like, because we were thinking about, getting married, and, and I'm like, I hadn't graduated school, I'm working UPS, and I was like, I felt compelled to actually go back to school and finish my degree. So
okay.
I actually, so I went back to school. I was going to, so I was doing UPS. I was doing school in the morning at like 5 a.m. or something like that. Then I would go to UPS and work for like a good, 6 to 8 hour shift, something like that.
Wow.
And then I would go to the coffee shop at night. And then I get home around like midnight. And then I go back to school the next day at 5. And so this is the grind just to get out of school, just to graduate.
Right. Can I say something right there real quick?
Yeah.
Just to my listeners, I make a comment and I say chasing your dream is never convenient to chase your dream. So it's never a good time to go back to school. And also now I'm also posting or hashtagging, this is what dream chasing looks like. Because I think a lot of people think they think the journey itself is elegant, and it's not, man. And so I love hearing the story of that. I remember, and I want you to get back into your story, and I apologize, but I remember when I was trying to finish school, same type deal, man. I had to be at work at 7:30, and so in Atlanta, I had to leave my house at 6:30 to get to work at 7:30. I'd go from 7:30 to 4 and go all the way across town to get to school from 5 to 11 p.m. And that was my life for like 2 years. It's not cool. But anyway, go ahead, man. I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that.
But no. Thanks you're right, man. And that's kind of what it was. And you, but you push through.
Yeah.
Luckily I had, people in my life that were, supportive. And so, you push through, and then I got to graduation. I'm like, all right, I'm a college graduate.
Right.
What do I do now?
Now what?
So now it's like, all right. Yeah, exactly. So all right, I'll find a job, and I was thankful I had a decent network of people, and I was but for a while I was a substitute teacher.
Okay.
Then I ended up working for a nonprofit organization in my hometown, and that was a blessing, man, because it allowed me to actually feel like I was giving back to the community, and mentoring has always been something that's kind of been on my heart. So it gave me a chance to kind of pour into some other people and kind of give back. But at the same time, I was like, hey, I think I can do more.
Right.
So I started going to grad school for playwriting because that was a passion of mine. I was like, I want to do playwriting. So I started going to grad school for playwriting, and then I did that for like they had summer semesters. I was up at Hollins University.
Okay.
And it was, I was really enjoying it. And then honestly, it kind of came down to, I was working, as a project director as my day job. I was doing freelance technical theater stuff on the side. And then I was going to grad school, and I was like, man, all the playwrights I know are are working like 5 and 6 jobs, and I was like, I would love it if I didn't have to work that hard,
Right.
to make a living. And,
Right.
and so and this is like 3 years after, I got married right after graduated college. So this is 3 years into a marriage. I'm a pretty young guy,
Right.
trying to figure out the job situation. Now I have a job, been doing this job for 3 years. And then but I'm now feeling like maybe there's more I can be doing. So,
yeah.
And then I played one video game, and at the end of the game, there's like this documentary about the people that were making the video game. And that, for some reason, made a connection in my brain that had never happened before, where I realized there were people behind this creative process. And people who were, compensated well for what they were doing.
Yeah.
So
do you remember the game? What game was it? You remember the game?
So there was, it was actually God of War.
Okay.
Was the game. It was just, because I think back about that game, I was like, I'm pretty sure I beat that one, but I haven't beaten the other ones. But that one was the one that stood out in my mind.
Okay.
Because they had a documentary around it, and the thing that just opened my eyes to possibilities. And
Perfect.
So I started just doing some investigation. I investigated a few schools, and I came across a school down in Orlando, which called Full Sail, because they had a graduate program that took 1 year.
Okay.
But it was an intensive program, like classes around the clock. So 24/7, you can be in the classroom. But but in the year, you would have your master's degree, and so that stood out to me. And I was like, maybe I could do that. But so now I have to work up the courage. I have to work up the strength. I have to go tell my wife, who we've been married for 3 years, we've been struggling paycheck to paycheck,
that you about to quit your job.
Tell her, I want to quit my job. And I want to take on some more debt.
Yeah.
To go do something else. And so I was terrified, man. Like I didn't want to face her mom. I didn't want to face her. I didn't want to face any. But I worked up the courage, and I went, and I was like, here's what I want to do. And her response was, let's do it.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. That's amazing. That's amazing, because that takes courage.
Yeah. So that response alone just put me on this path to, now I'm down here, and I was in grad school in Orlando, because she was like, let's do it. So we moved down there. I'm in grad school, and I took it seriously because I knew the sacrifice we were making. I knew what we had to give up. I knew what this meant. I knew that this is not something I could play around with.
Right.
The school, I'll say it's a really good school. There are a lot of people who give it flack just for, it's a for-profit school. Some people go there, have a bad experience, feel like they didn't get a job when they came out.
Right.
For me, man, like I went down and I put everything I had into that.
Yeah.
So there are people who came in, like my classmates, some of them came in with, with computer science background and just, far more technical skills than my own. And I was intimidated by a lot of that, but I was just like, you know what? I'm taking it seriously. I'm going to push through, and I worked and ended up becoming. I was a valedictorian for my class.
Were you really? That is amazing, man. And let me. I just want to stop you just for a second for the listeners. When you have an idea, you know what you want to do, just do it. Like I love the fact that you're like, look, this is what I want to do. This happened. I'm gonna do some research. And I'm gonna make it happen. Right? We're gonna move down there and make. I think we find so many reasons why we can't do whatever it is we want to do. And again, it goes with my t-shirt where it says never a convenient time. Because we can always say, well, I just got married 3 years ago. Now's not a good time. And then all of a sudden you got kids. And you're like, well, we just had kids. Now's not a good time. Well, now we're saving for college. Now's not a good time. Well, now the kid's in college. And you look up and you're 65 years old and you've never done it. It's never a convenient time. So I just love that story. I'm like, we moved down to Orlando and it was a struggle, but we made it happen. So anyway, go ahead. So you pick up, you graduated valedictorian.
Yep, graduated valedictorian, and then from there, I started just working. I worked a few jobs as associate producer.
Okay.
And then I got a job working for a studio called Junction Point, and they're working on a game called Epic Mickey: The Power of Two. And so I had a buddy that was over there. One of my classmates went over there, and he helped me get a position over there. And so I went to GDC, which is a game developers conference every year, and when I was at GDC, so before me actually going down to Texas to take this job, I went to GDC, and I had some friends there at Microsoft, and I passed them my stuff, but I wasn't sure if anything would come of it. But they said, hey, there may be a recruiter at GDC. So at GDC, I went and I went up to the recruiter, and I was like, hey.
Now tell the people what GDC is for the people that don't know.
So GDC is Game Developers Conference, and so every year, all the developers from every game imaginable, just all over the industry. They go to San Francisco, and we come to learn from each other and talk to each other about video games, essentially. And so the recruiters are a lot of times they're looking for new talent out there. And so I went up to the Microsoft booth and I was like, "Hi, I'm James. I'd love to talk to somebody about who I am and see if there's any positions." They said, "Oh, that's great. We don't have any appointments left for today, but thank you." And so I walked away, and I was devastated.
Right.
I was like, "Man, this was supposed to be my moment." That set me back. I was shocked. And
right.
So, and then something just said to me, and I think from that I actually went and I called my wife and I told her what was going on, and then I was like, and then she and I both were like, why don't you just go hang out over there? So I was like, you know what? They have like Forza. They had a Forza station over there. So I was like, I'm just gonna go hang out in their area and play Forza.
Yeah.
So I just went back over there and hung out and started playing video games. And then this guy, his name was Jeremy. He poked his head out and he was like, "Are you James?" And I was like, "Yes." He was like, "I'm in between meetings. I have 2 minutes.
Wow.
Tell me about yourself."
Wow.
So I just started talking. I started telling him about my thesis. I started telling him about everything I did at Full Sail.
Yeah.
Because that was all the experience I had was just my education and some papers that I had written and then a few internships and stuff like that. So I just started telling him about all this stuff. And then he was like, "All right, I got 1 more minute." So then I was like, "All right, he's giving me a little more time." So I just started talking as much as I can and kind of trying to relay the message that not only am I passionate about this space, but I'm a hard worker. That's what I love to do. And so from there, he was like, you should be getting a phone call.
Right.
And so that made my day. Like that was just hearing that. Like, I was so pumped. So
right.
I went to Texas and was working, as in the test team and for Epic Mickey and just having a blast. And then maybe a month or 2 later, I get this phone call from somebody at Microsoft saying, "Hey, we want to, continue with the interview process." And I was just kind of blown away, and then, kind of led to me doing like they wanted to fly me up to Redmond for an interview. So,
wow.
Yeah, and so
wow.
At this point, I'm just like, because I've known other people that have done these interviews, that didn't get the job and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to do my best. I talked to a few people that were, kind of mentors to me at the time and got some guidance and advice from them. And then I went and did the interview. And it was an all-day interview. I met a lot of different people.
Uh-huh.
And typically the way this process works, you do an all-day interview. They say, "All right, thank you," and then they call you in a couple of days and say, yes or no, if you got it, or they email you or whatever. So,
right.
So for my day, I went in, I did my full day of interviews, and then you go meet with the recruiter at the end of the day, and they say, "All right, thanks. Make sure you have the right phone number." So I went back to talk to the recruiter, and they're like, they want to offer you the position.
Oh, that day.
Like on the spot.
Oh man.
They want to offer you the position. So I was just blown away. I'm like crying. I'm calling everybody, crying, calling my wife.
It's like the last scene on The Pursuit of Happiness. You went outside and cried.
Yeah, clapping, just like a slow clap.
Yeah. That is so. Oh, that's so cool. I want to say one thing real quick.
Man. Yeah.
Again, I'm just picking out little jewels that you said. Anybody listening, the first thing that happened after he goes to the Microsoft booth and says, "Hey, I want to have a conversation." First thing they said was no, right? And I just can't explain the importance of pushing through no's, because no's are there to just teach us something and to grow us and to strengthen us. And so I think it's so cool that you're just like, all right, no, and you didn't go home and tuck your tail between your legs. You're like, all right, I'm gonna hang out in the booth. Somebody gonna talk to me. And and here we are. So anyway, go ahead, keep going. I like to highlight that nugget.
Yeah, and so from there, man, like I went back and to the studio and had to kind of get everything ready for the transition. And then in my mind, I was like, man, I knew what I was making in Greensboro because I was working 3 or 4 jobs trying to make it. And so I was like, man, I had a number in my mind. I was like, man, if I can just get here,
I'll be good.
Like I was doing all right. And when I say that, like they doubled, like they called me and they told me what it was going to be, and they like doubled my expectation of what I was. And then they're like, people don't typically negotiate. I was like, I'm not going to negotiate.
I would say, I'm good.
I probably should have negotiated.
Right.
I probably should have negotiated some. Right. I was like, this sounds great.
I would say, yes. And, where do I sign? How quick can I sign?
Like, let me go get my stuff.
Yeah.
And so now I've been up here for 5.5 years, and
Man.
I've gotten, and I've been fortunate to work on a few different teams from the first party, from the publishing side with XBLA,
Yeah.
from first party on Project Spark, then on third party, and now on the mixer team. And I've gotten promotions, since I've been here in the
Right.
5 years. I've been promoted like 3 times. So it's just been such a blessing, man. When I think back on kind of the journey and kind of where I am, like I feel like I am living the dream. I'm living my passion.
Yeah.
And it's great, man.
Hey, oh, man, this story is so inspiring. So I got to ask this question because it's the Father's Day podcast, and I always ask this question to the fathers that I have on the podcast, which is, how has chasing your dream impacted you as a father? And then I know none of us know the future, but how do you think you chasing your dream, you and your wife chasing your dream, how will that impact her?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. So I'll tell you, like, in all of this story, like the secret hero here, like, outside of, our faith, and, we thank God for everything.
Right.
But, like, my wife is really the hero in
awesome.
a lot of what I'm saying, because she was the one that said, let's do it. And the reason that I pursued my dreams, because my wife she's an opera singer, and she's a strong Black woman. She's an opera singer. She's like, hey, I want to be with somebody that's happy and who's doing something they enjoy. Like, life is too short to do something you don't like. So she's always pursued her dreams. I've seen her, go from working a desk job to, now to performing all over the place, from modeling to acting, like really just pursuing and living out her dreams. So she set an example for me that made it easier for me to follow. And she was like, James, if you're going to be unhappy somewhere, you might as well just not do that. Always pursue your dreams. So for us, there's just this culture of like, we're not going to settle, we're going to keep pursuing. And so having that kind of support system was amazing. But, but then it was also tough because I'm asking her to uproot, because after she established herself in Greensboro, like, all right, let's go to Orlando. And she established herself in Orlando.
Right.
She started getting gigs, booking stuff. And I was like, all right, let's go to Seattle. And now she's like, and then everywhere she goes, she thrives, and she finds ways to find success and to make it happen again. And then we waited to have kids. I mean, we've been married for, almost 12 years, and we waited till, we were about 8 years in before we had our daughter. And so I was actually at Microsoft, when we had our daughter, and honestly, part of it was, there's never a great time, to have kids either. But for us, it was like, man, I want to make sure that when we have kids, that it's not a burden for us.
Yeah,
we can actually take care of that kid, and and we both grew up, raised by single moms, and so we wanted to make sure that we could try to do things that we set ourselves up for success. And if money is the issue, our goal was to hopefully not have money be an issue. And then the twist in this story is that after getting after coming here and getting the job at Microsoft and stuff like that, we had more money than we've ever had before, and we were happy.
Right.
And then that's when a lot of problems came. Like, I know it's kind of cliche, like the more money, more problems.
Right.
But honestly, it was when you don't have a lot of money.
Right.
There's not a lot of discussion on how you spend that money.
Right.
Because
it's going to rent.
Where it's going.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
But when you start to have a little money, then you start to realize there's a whole philosophy about how that money gets spent that you didn't have to worry about before.
Yeah.
And so for the first time, we're having conversations about saving versus spending versus investing, like all this stuff. And, and honestly, that caused quite a few passionate conversations.
Right. Right.
and things for us to work through.
Yeah.
And then when we did have Ella, it was important for, I think, for Ella to see, like, because Sharice is still performing, and she's still doing the things that she's passionate about. And I think it's very important for Ella to see, her mom and her dad, pursuing their dreams and doing those things. If I'm being honest with you, man, there's times where I'm like, man, I wish I could, spend more time just focusing on her and doing, things that that she wants to do, or in the same with with my wife, just like, hey, maybe we spend more time with Ella and do those types of things,
Right.
Because you see lots of examples of parents that are doing those types of things.
Right.
So we're out here and we're still pushing and grinding for our dreams, and I think. I mean, part of me thinks that we are showing her, we are setting an example for her, even though we may not all be focused on just her and her life, but she's seeing how, we are able, trying to live our lives. And hopefully that's setting an example for her. But it's, I don't know, now, we're kind of new to parenting. I mean, she's, daughter's about, almost 3. And so still in this, I don't know, maybe you never get out of this phase, but you're, still like, oh, this parent is doing A, B, and C. And why so all this comparison type stuff, man. But
you said a lot, and it's a lot to unpack. And I want to take a moment to acknowledge a couple things. One, just acknowledge. I know it's Father's Day podcast, but how awesome it is that your wife supported that dream. We hear this cliche so much, like behind every successful man is a successful woman, and I don't necessarily doubt it. I think it's a little cliche. I don't necessarily doubt it, but I could also argue behind every failure is like 10 ain't shit women. I really believe that. I really believe that. Like it's people, and it's not man or female or gender. What I'm saying is there's people that either understand the journey and push you, or there's people that don't. And it goes for male or female, doesn't matter. So I think the fact that you had a partner that was like, we're going to do this. Let's go to Orlando. We're going to do this, because she understood, which I think is key. She understood that a good portion of your happiness has nothing to do with her. And that is mature. Does that make sense? I tell people all the time when we talk about relationships, I can't be your ice cream. I can be the cherry on top. Does that make sense? Right? Like you got to know what makes you happy, and you and your wife, you guys know that separately, and then you guys can be each other's cherry and all that good stuff and complete me, whatever is cliche. But I think it makes people insecure when they think that someone gets happiness from something other than themselves. And I'll tell this quick story, and it's kind of funny, but I remember an ex asked me, she was like, what percentage of your happiness do I make? And I was like, I don't know, maybe 10%. She got upset because I was like, well, what percentage? She was like, well, you like 70% of my happiness. I was like, well, you need to get a life. Like, that's too much pressure. I don't know how to make me happy that much less another person. So anyway, I think that's big, man. Also, I think me having a daughter that's 5, you're right? There's always this balance, and we say, how much dream chasing versus how much spending actual time with our child. And there's not a right answer, but I will say this. There is something about this weekend. It was the first time I got to take my daughter to a show. Give it up to Comedy Pop-Up show in Huntington Beach was off the chains, right? So I got to take her to a show that was actually at a child play place, and it was the first time she got to come. And I said to her about, let's say about 2 o'clock, I said, baby, you're going to go to daddy's show tonight. And that's all she kept talking about. I had no clue. I've been doing comedy for the last 5 years. I had no clue that she wanted to see daddy perform. I had no clue that it was such a big deal to her to see it. And so she's there, and then we're selling T-shirts after, and she was just having the time of her life. And so it's something about seeing daddy, and she doesn't, they don't know age right now. Age is relative. But later, right? But at 18, she will understand age. And at 18, she'll say, well, daddy was chasing his dream at 40. Because so many people truly, after college, give up. They never say it out loud. But after college, whatever job they get after college, they're like, all right, I'm done. I have kids, I get married. And you were probably making enough money to survive. You could have easily said, UPS, all right, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. Right? And you could have not taken those steps, but look how not taking those steps would have impacted your daughter. Imagine if you're spending 30 years shoveling boxes, your attitude with her, right? How you, not take away the money of Xbox, which is amazing, right? But just how unhappy or maybe mediocre your life would have been, and then would have told her inadvertently, it's cool to have a mediocre life. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, man, I know it's a pressure about, it's a balance, and we got to hold each other kind of like, all right, dude. And the more you do it, the better you get at that balancing act. Like now, I'm like, all right, I'm not taking shows on these certain weekends, period. Right? That's my non-negotiable. So,
Yeah.
Well, good, man. I'm sorry to preach, man, but I just love the story, and I love everything that you're doing, and it's so inspirational. But we're right at about 35 minutes, and I try to keep it at this point, just because at this point people are probably already at work or already at home or whatever. But anything else you want to say? I don't want to cut you off. Anything else you want to maybe tell the listeners, or anything that you want to bring up?
Man, I would say, I wish I had, kind of a cool one-liner here. I gotta work on that. But honestly, man, like for me, like there are several people throughout my life that were there for me, that were mentors and just just gave advice, and just a lot of people, from pastors to professors to whatever. And man, they poured a lot into me, and so I thank all of them. I thank God, and I thank all of those people that poured into me to help me get here, man. And I realized not everybody has that same kind of community. So I'm like, hey, if you do get there, please think about, like I think about James, like who I was in college. I'm like, there's another James or another person out there that could use a mentor, could use somebody else, kind of talking to them, sharing this kind of advice. So, for those who are listening, who, maybe you already got there, maybe you're living a dream. There's somebody else who is now where you used to be that could use you just reaching back and talking to them. And that's what drives me, man. I think just trying to make sure I'm always being mindful of the next, the next generation, the next person coming up.
Yeah.
Because I think there are a lot of people who need that help.
Oh, I agree. 100%, man. I couldn't agree more, and I think you're spot on. And that just, and I'm not going to get into it, but that just really talks to our passion is God's gift to us and what we like to do in video games and comedy and blah, blah, blah. But our purpose is how we use that to help others, by far, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thanks, James, man. I appreciate it. This is gonna go up on Wednesday, and so I'm gonna send it to you, and I'll tag you on it and all that good stuff, and then you feel free to forward it to the world, man. Forward it to everybody at Microsoft, and maybe they'll send it to all the trillion people that follow Microsoft. But this,
awesome, man.
This was inspiring, man. I really appreciate it. I know you're coming up in June, and so maybe in June we can have you in the studio. If you have enough time, we can have you in the studio, and we'll do the next one live. We'll do about chapter 2. Or maybe we can bring, if she's open to it, maybe we can bring you and Sharice. That'd be cool.
She would love that. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I'd love to interview her and get her story too. I know it's Father's Day, but since she's so impactful, I don't just because it's Father's Day doesn't mean it's just it's anti-women. So I'd love to do it.
Awesome.
All right, man.
Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, man. Thanks for coming, and I will talk to you later.
All right.
Yeah. Hey, guys, that was an awesome conversation with James Lewis, Microsoft Xbox engineer, software engineer, makes games, and now is working on Mixer. Thanks always for just following the Father's Day podcast. Make sure you follow Comedy Pop-Up, the podcast. We got about 10 different podcasts on the network now. Make sure you follow everybody. It's so different, but just a bunch of talented individuals. So thanks for listening. If you have any suggestions or positive criticism, please feel free to hit me. I'm at Trenton Comedy on every single thing, at Trenton Comedy. Also, for the people that have been sending me suggestions, thank you. I'm listening to them. I'm trying to get better, and we'll work together on this. All right? Thank you, guys. Love you. See you next time.